Can we be evil? Actually, truly evil? I know it might seem as a simple answer. Well, you just have to look at the history to find a number of terrible war crimes, atrocities, some fucked up human experiments, history of torture, of abuse, of slavery, to see that we are clearly capable of being evil. But that's not exactly what I have in mind when I say truly evil. You see, when you look at everything that we've ever done that you might consider as evil, something to hurt another human being or an animal, something that might just be the most twisted thing you can imagine. Or even when you think about the fictional characters that we create that are supposed to be evil, they always have some motivation behind it, some justification that is being used to really signify that even though someone is doing something that's clearly bad or morally evil, they always try to justify it in some way so that they themselves are not evil. Well, let's look at the Nazis, right? The human embodiment of historical evil when they and the Holocaust. They also tried to do something else. It wasn't just hurting someone for the sake of it. They tried to create a perfect race, eliminate individuals that they seem to think that were worse. They tried to, in some way, better the human race, the human genome. And that's the thing. There's always some motivation, there's always something to gain, something that is the reason. And even if you're not trying to justify it, say that you're actually the good guy, that you're doing something for the greater good. You may look at the things and think that there's something to achieve. Well, you can look at various different serial killers, for example, as the individuals that clearly did something evil, committed crimes that were truly evil, and yet they also wanted something. They wanted to gain something from that, perhaps some moments of pleasure, of control over someone's life. So that's not exactly what I mean when I say, when I ask if we can be truly evil. Because even the fictional characters, if you have a character that seems to have no motivation and no goal, it's just evil for the sake of it, we may think that they are being boring. There's a lot of criticism for such a character, for just being one dimensional. But at the same time, when you look at a movie like No Country for Old Men, you're being met with a character that doesn't really have a goal, that is doing things based on not really any motivation, just as a force of fate. And that is also not something that I mean by truly evil. Because even though such a character commits an evil act, it's being written in such a way that that character is just a force, something inevitable, something that we cannot change or create. And definitely we cannot escape it. So what do I mean by true evil? Well, if we look at something that will be just purely evil, with some actions, someone with no motivation, no justification, that gains nothing, knows that the act that they are committing is evil, and they're doing it anyway. So there's no pleasure by doing the evil act, committing a crime, hurting someone. Imagine for a second an individual that has no greater good in mind, knows that they're hurting someone, feels that what they're doing is bad, is evil. So there's no pleasure. It actually hurts someone to do such an action. And yet they still decide to commit this action with full knowledge, full understanding of what this individual is doing. Purely evil. With no goal, no motivation, no justification. With full awareness. Which leads us to the question that I asked: are we capable of such a thing? Of being truly, purely evil? Is it possible for such a human to exist? You may think that the evolution would take care of such an individual and just not allow us to actually be purely evil. So this is an idea we throw around about people being evil, being bad, around so many different topics, so many different perspectives. But when you think about it, every single human actually has a different idea, different understanding of what an evil being would look like and how such a being would behave, such a human would behave. So to add to the definition of the purely evil, as I said, such an individual would have to be aware, so there's clearly agency behind it. So you cannot argue that someone is just doing something as a force of fate. And so perhaps we're not capable of being purely evil. But then that leaves us with a very interesting question. Can we actually call someone evil if what they're doing is for, in their mind, a greater good, an inevitable force of fate, or a personal goal and motivation? I'm not sure. And I don't think that we actually need to call someone evil, because even though someone has the greatest intention, and like the saying goes, the road to hell is full with good intentions. If you hurt someone, if you harm someone, and you have the best intentions in the imaginable, you're still creating the suffering, you're still responsible for it. So, to be quite honest, calling someone evil or not becomes irrelevant. Because even though you may not be, and we might actually not be able to be purely evil, we can still judge the action itself, because you're still being responsible for your actions, especially if you are an adult making so many decisions every single day. So I leave you with the question: can we be truly evil?